Welcome back, friends. This is episode 26 of season 1 of Chris's Creative Corner. My name is Chris Cole. For those of you who don't know, who are just tuning in for the first time, welcome. You're probably going to be a little lost because I'm reading chapters from my book, and that means that we're in chapter 26 right now, which means you've missed chapters 1 through 25. So I would suggest going back and listening. The episodes aren't that long. And it also gives you an opportunity to get to know me, the author, because I'm a human and not just an author. I say author, it's so fancy. I'm an author. Oh, that sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger saying Arthur. Anyway, first we're starting out with questions for Chris. Okay, first question. This is a controversial one for writers. Do you believe in writer's block? The answer is, I really want to say it depends. The answer is no. I don't believe in writer's block. I believe that any writer can sit in front of a computer and write anything, anytime, anywhere. The idea behind writer's block is whether you are unable to do productive, meaningful, good writing. Like, you can sit down and write garbage all you want. Are you going to use any of it later? Maybe it helps you, like, get some ideas or something. I don't know. I don't feel like I've ever experienced writer's block. I've experienced times where I don't know what to write, so I don't write. Because I am not going to waste my time trying to think of things or situations or that kind of thing. Like, and sometimes you just need a break. If writing is a job, like some people make it to be, then you need a break. You need time away from writing to do other things. I have other things that interest me besides writing. Is writing a big interest? Yes, I absolutely love it. There are other things in life. So, no, I do not believe in writer's block. I believe that writers can write anytime, anything, anywhere. I believe that writers choose whether or not they write garbage. And I don't want to write garbage. I don't want to continue to write, I don't know what to write. He said this while saying that he said a saying. Like, I don't want to write things like that, which is why I choose not to, and why I choose to take time away from writing to refresh. So, no, I don't believe in writer's block. I know other people do, and that's fine. That's good for them. I'm happy for them. It's really your take on it that's the thing. So we will continue to the next question. If you had to do something differently as a child or teenager to become a better writer as an adult, what would you do? I don't know that I could have done anything as a child or teenager. Well, I could have tried to do more writing as a teenager, but I was so busy trying to be popular and well liked while trying to hide the fact that I was gay that I was really distracted throughout my teenage years and even up until I was 21 when I came out. Ultimately, if I had anything to change, I would take creative writing courses. And the thing is that I still might do that. I still might decide to take creative writing courses once I'm done with my master's degree. I don't know what I'm going to do once I graduate. I don't know where I'll be, what I'll be doing. But I would love to take a couple creative writing courses to really increase my writing. I tend to, like I've talked about before, I tend to write really directly, like very journalistically and like factually. But it would be really interesting for me to explore creative writing and do different writing exercises and explore that creativity that's inside me. And ultimately, I'll probably end up coming up with like each time I attend class, I'll probably come up with like, one or two different whole story ideas, which could be a series or whatever. And so I'll just have even more incomplete stories or story ideas for me to write. But in a way, it's kind of a good problem to have that I have an overabundance of ideas. I just don't have the time to write them. Um, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. But creative writing courses in high school, I probably could have done better in. Well, I know I could have done better in high school, grades wise. It would have been really nice for me to actually participate in. I took an AP English class, and I did okay, but I didn't take the AP English exam to test out of English. Um, so I ended up taking. I think I took an English. Oh, I ended up taking journalism my senior year, which counted as an English class. I remember that. Um, I probably would have wanted to focus more on English and writing, and actually doing my homework could have been helpful in, getting better grades. So things like that. But yeah, I kind of still want to take a creative writing course, and I may still do that, or a couple. So yeah, good questions. Now that we are finished with questions for Chris, we're going to move on. I have my famous, notorious RBG bookmark that has bookmarked chapter 26. In the previous chapter, just as a reminder, Casey was in the hospital after overdosing and collapsing at the Grammys, and Nick and Casey had come to Jesus about Casey's addiction problems and his substance abuse. And Casey said that he needed to go to counseling, and then the big one was that he said he needed to go to rehab. So that's where we are. Chapter 26, Progress. Kennedy, Levi, and I all spent the next 2 weeks hanging out in Nashville. Omar had agreed for us to put the album on hold for a month while Casey was in rehab, and for the first 2 weeks no one was allowed to see him. We spent our time seeing some sights around Nashville. I even convinced Scott to let me fly him out for another weekend. He wasn't surprised when I told him Casey didn't really have the flu. I've seen multiple overdoses as an EMT, Nick. I knew what I was seeing on TV. But don't worry, I haven't been going around telling everyone. We were lying in bed, having spent the whole day there. I'm worried about what it's going to be like when I see him, Scott. I'm sure he'll be happy to see you. He stroked my arm softly and kissed the top of my head, maybe even as happy to see you as I was. I breathed out a laugh. I was happy to see you too. As soon as the first day for visiting came, I was at the rehab place with a bouquet of flowers and a fixed yet large smile on my face. Kennedy and Levi were there as well, and I could tell they were nervous too. I walked into the facility and told them I was there to see Casey Doyle. They had us wait until he was ready, then they escorted us through well-lit and cheerful-looking hallways to a room that was all windows. I could see shrubbery and trees outside, as well as beautiful flower beds with colorful varieties of flowers. Nick, Levi, Kennedy! I looked off to the side and saw a blur of gray descend on us. We were all pulled into a group hug. My head was somewhere under his armpit, so when we pulled apart, it was the first time I'd seen his face. Casey, you look so good! And he did. He even looked like he'd put on a little weight. He was still skinny, but his face looked more filled in. But he definitely still looked pale. He stepped back to look at us all, then pulled us in for individual hugs. You guys, I missed you so much. How are you? Tell me everything. We sat down at a table. Kennedy began to tell him about the things we'd been doing in Nashville and about things since the Grammys. We toured around Nashville. We flew up to New York to do an interview on Good Morning America and did Sorry. It sucked you weren't there, but Levi played the guitar for the acoustic version. Then Nick flew out to LA to surprise a guest on Ellen and stuck around to do an interview. Wow. Sounds busy. Like a lot of fun. I could tell from his tone he didn't like hearing that at all. I mean, I was invited, otherwise I wouldn't have gone. Also, we've really just been killing time. Like, I'm really bored. I was hoping he'd laugh at that, but he didn't. He looked at us all very seriously. Listen, you guys. I'm glad you're here, because I need to apologize. No, Casey. No, I want to. I have to. He took a deep breath, wringing his hands. I know I really messed up with my addictions. I was taking pills and drinking, and I wasn't thinking about how that would affect you all. You had to put the album on hold, and who knows what else. I mean, your lives are on hold, and it's my fault. We sat there waiting for him to go on. He was having a tough time. It's okay, Casey. We're here, man. Levi reached out his hand and grasped Casey's in his, giving a solid squeeze. Thanks. He released a big breath. I guess I just really want you to know how sorry I am. I'm making progress here. Man, it's fucking hard. Like it's just minute by minute, hour by hour. Are you doing okay? His eyes welled up and he wiped at them. Sorry. For the first week or so, my hands wouldn't stop shaking, and I keep having these flashbacks of when I was drinking. I fought with my counselor at first, but I've gotten used to the tools he uses to help. He made me wear a sign around my neck that read, "Confront me if I say I'm fine." Apparently, I was saying that a lot when I first got here. I looked at the other two, and, I mean, do you think you're making progress? He sighed and slowly nodded. I do. I've had some awesome moments in group. I I had to call my parents. They wanted me to call them to see if they could come to a family thing, but they refused. My mom just said I was in a rut and I didn't really have a problem. Turns out I was influenced growing up. I can't tell you how many times my parents were falling down drunk growing up. I mean, Nick, you saw how they were at Thanksgiving. How many bottles of wine did we go through? I nodded. Lots. Um, what kind of things are you doing in here? Well, I started a journal. He held up a small red book. I've been writing a lot about my thoughts and feelings, putting some into lyric form. I've been attending group sessions and meeting with an individual counselor. I'm making progress through some of my issues. I feel really raw, you know. I'm exhausted, but like a good exhausted. It's hard to say, but I'm an addict. Just saying it makes it harder and easier at the same time. We sat around chatting for a few minutes until Casey asked if I wanted to take a walk. I agreed, so we went walking around the property. He was silent for a long time before he spoke. So you had fun in LA? Seeing Ellen? I know you're a big fan. It was fine. I mean, it's crazy to think that's where I was. I just sort of go blank when I'm on stage alone, you know? I barely remember the whole thing. Like I have to watch video afterward to know what I said. He laughed. You're so funny that way. You know, I really wanted you alone to talk with you about, well, about our relationship. My stomach lurched. Okay. I don't feel like I've been a very good friend to you sometimes. That's so not true. He held up his hands and cut me off. Just let me finish. When I was drinking, I know I was sort of on you, like in a physical way. And well, I feel bad for what I might have made you feel, and I'm sorry I might have crossed a line. I gave him a grim smile. Anything we did when we were both drunk, I only regret it because it seemed hard on you. Even when I was sober and you were drinking, I liked that you were on me in a physical way. He frowned. Even after we had that big fight and I said nothing could ever happen, I nodded. And I think that makes me a bad friend to you. I feel like I took advantage of you while you were drunk. Can I just. Will you let me. He stared at me, eyes intense. What? I just want to see something. And he leaned in towards me, his eyes darting from my lips to my eyes. Casey, are you sure? But he captured my lips in his. He was soft at first, unsure, but his hand found its way to my arm and pulled me closer to him. My hand came to rest gently on his face as he deepened the kiss, his lips insistent against mine. When we broke apart, I had to firmly plant my feet to stop from swaying. I opened my eyes to find his still closed. His hand went up softly to his lips and touched them. Then he opened his eyes and dropped his hand. That's what I was thinking. Well, that's what I was afraid of. What? I like kissing guys. Maybe I like more things about guys. I gave him a reassuring pat on the arm and cleared my throat. Casey, there are worse things than liking guys. I mean, I told you before, my counselor said sexuality is like a straight line with points on it, and you'd be hard-pressed to find someone that's all the way on one end or the other. A lot of people fall in the middle, and it's okay. He looked at me, his eyes narrowing. Are you okay? Me? Yeah, why wouldn't I be? Well, how did you feel about that? About kissing me? I sagged a little. I don't know what to say to that, Casey. I know I'm more to the attracted to men side of the scale, so I liked kissing you, but I also like kissing you because, well, because you're you. He nodded. Okay. He continued walking, and we didn't talk more about it, though I was dying to know what he was thinking. We sat down on the ground near a small pond on the property. Hey, Nick. Yeah? Will you sing to me? I've missed your voice. I smiled at him. Sure. He laid down on his side and put his head on my lap. Is this okay? Sure. I thought for a second about what to sing. I'd been listening to a lot of Sarah Bareilles, so I decided to sing to him Once Upon Another Time. As I did, I ran my hands through his shaggy hair. As I got to the end, I could feel wetness on my thighs and saw Casey was crying. I sang the last few lines of Sarah's song, thinking I would love to duet with her at some point. He laid there crying while I stroked his head and back. I don't know how long he did. Finally, he wiped his nose and sat up. Sorry about your pants. I rubbed his back. Anytime you need a good cry, my pants are here. I mean, my shoulders, too. Whatever body part you need. He laughed and wiped his eyes. Ugh, I feel like a mess. Messes happen. But what's important is you clean them up. He looked at me and nodded. You're right. And I really want to clean up the mess I made with you guys. With you. You're already working on it. I'm so proud of you, Casey. You're so strong. He wiped his eyes again. I don't feel very strong right now. I think it's because you've been trying to be strong for so long. You're allowed weakness. Besides, that's what friends and family are for. You get to lean on them when you need to, and you've got 3 friends you can lean on anytime. He gave me a sideways smile, looking a little bashful. The smile always drove me a little crazy. Thanks, Nick. I couldn't do this without you. Same. Anyway, I've still got 2 weeks left here, and after that I'm going to get a counselor outside of this place. And I'll be going to AA, so there's going to be some times I can't go to the studio. I'm sure Omar will be fine with that. I nudged him with my elbow and looked behind us. Kennedy and Levi were waving. And if he's not, I'll threaten to quit again. Anyway, it looks like I need to head out. When can I come visit you again? Would it be okay if I asked to be alone until I'm out? I still have some work to do on me. No, I'm selfish and I want to see you every day, even if it's detrimental to your health. Neener, neener. He laughed. Thanks, Nick. You can call me Nicky anytime. You don't mind? Not at all. It was going to be 2 more weeks without any contact with Casey. We continued to work on songs and visit places around, and I flew Scott out again for Valentine's Day. We went to a nice restaurant. I felt good I was able to pay for everything, but he insisted on leaving the tip. And then we went back to the hotel room and had very sweet, romantic sex. I lay there in his arms after, feeling content. Oh, and Casey totally had me sing to him. I forgot to tell you that. No, you told me. Oh, sorry, I'm not trying to repeat myself. He untangled himself from me and sat up, crossing his legs and facing me. You talked about Casey all night tonight. I leaned on my side, propping my head up with my arm. I did? I didn't even realize. I'm sorry, Scott. He smiled at me. You haven't even asked me about myself since I got here, Nick. I felt an ache in my heart. I'm sorry. I guess I've just been hyper-focused. He shook his head. It's not that. You always talk about Casey, and if you're not talking about him, I'm pretty sure you're thinking about him. I frowned. I mean, we're friends, but where are we going? Where do you want this to go? Us? Oh, shit. This. And that is all for chapter 26. Oh shit, Scott and Nick are about to get into quite a serious conversation, and we're going to see how that goes. Oh my. That's all for this episode of Chris's Creative Corner, where we are reading my book, Porch Light. This was episode 26, so we're on chapter 26, which means we only have 3 more chapters left until the end of the book. If you're just tuning in now, all the episodes are still posted, episodes 1 through 25, so go ahead and go give them a listen. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.